Yo, what it div, y'all? Let's get right into it. We're going to talk about a really fair archetype of builds, and I'm going to talk about why this fair archetype is bad. Because fair is bad in a game like this. The enemies are unfair, therefore we have to be unfair. And I want you to keep this in mind. Even if you look to gloss over all the numbers that I go through in this video, I want you to really keep this mantra in mind. Fair is bad because enemies are not fair, so why should we be fair? Now, let's talk about spell totems. A very fair archetype. Genuinely. Its design is well put together that in a way that makes sense, where the checks and balances of its playstyle versus its damage versus its defenses, etc., actually lines up pretty well with what I would consider to be good game design. However, again, enemies are not well designed, and so why are we being well designed? Why would I play this when the horrifically designed mines do infinitely more damage, feel infinitely better? Like, what are we doing here, right? So we're going to talk about what is the problem numerically with totems, because it's all number stuff. It all lies in its numbers. And then I'll talk about things that have changed over the past couple years that have brought it to this point, as well as what is it actually supposed to be good for, because people still play spell totems, even to this day, right? Like, we had ball lightning of static spell totems last league. Granted, there was a bug abuse involved, but even then we had Divine Ire, we had Stormburst. Like, totems have been strong for quite some time and are still completely worth playing, but they're too fair. Now, before I get into it, if you like these type of videos, liking the video lets me know that. And if you want to see more of what I post here, subscribe and even hit that notification bell to know when I'm posting, right? Now, let's get into it. Talking about spell totems, it's only fitting that we start from spell totem support and then draw a direct comparison to high impact mine. Because I think if I start to really just immediately draw the parallels in the numbers, it'll click for you like this, what the problem is. Now, spell totem support at level 20 gives you a 40% less damage multiplier, as well as 40% less cast speed. That means that by putting on spell totem support, you are doing 30%, 36% even, of the damage that you would be doing if you were to cast that skill yourself. There are two caveats to this that are not super well explained, though. One, totems come with a placement time, and then you don't have to actually cast it yourself beyond that point. So that's one upside. And the other thing is, usually you start with one totem, but you can get up to 6 totems, right? Ancestral Bond on the tree, either the Ascendancy node, Pursuit of Faith within Hierophant, or Ascendant's Hierophant node will give you another totem. A shield in the later game part of the game can get you another +1, either through Tukahama's Fortress, which does come with a pretty nasty downside of forcing blood magic if you aren't prepared to build around that, or a Shaper shield that will also have the prefix +1 to maximum number of summon totems, or you can get multiple totem support for another +2 totems. And so all of those together get you to 6 total totems. And so you're not actually just completely cooking yourself when you put on spell totem support, but it is worth noting now that you know this, don't just put on spell totem support immediately and think it's going to be fine. You do need Ancestral Bond to get that up to 72%. And then you do need to get like Pursuit of Faith in order to get that up to 108%. So that way spell totem support is not actively cutting your damage, right? But it's still not adding all that much damage, but at least it's not cutting your damage, right? Now, let's talk about multiple totem support a little bit. I'm going to just mostly flash these numbers up on the screen because multiple totem support is a lot to talk about. And all you really need to know is earlier on, multiple totem support is absolutely insane. Like, if you are leveling, put this gem in. It is strong. It is very strong. Then, as you get further and further into the game, it starts to get weaker numerically speaking, even at the point where when you're fully ascended, you have 4 totems because you have a shield as well. It is only a 28.3% damage increase at this point, which is around utility support levels, and the value of summoning an additional totem at a time is still super good, because then you will go from needing 6 clicks to summon all 6 of your totems to 3 clicks to summon your 6 totems. So don't actually, even though the numbers don't look impressive here, understand that this support is still basically mandatory in order to play totems comfortably, right? Now, all of these things together really just means if I were to ignore the existence of Ritual of Awakening for a second, we're just at 4 totems, minding our business. Spell totem support is offering us 72.8% damage. right? Like that's what it's giving us across the 4 totems and our ritual awakening bonuses. It's giving us 72.8% damage. I'm gonna keep it a buck with y'all. That is not good enough. We are giving up 1 support gem and dedicating our ascendancy to this, and its damage value is just not nearly high enough, right? Like high impact mine is at like half of that or more with no ascendancy dependence whatsoever. And then if we add in how ridiculous Minefield is compared to multiple totem support, it's night and day how much stronger it is. So what's the point? Why would we play totems if they're numerically outclassed to such a degree? Well, it's because of the playstyle, right? You put down a totem, you cast it 1 time for its duration, as long as it doesn't die, and it does damage for you. You now can run around and dodge. You don't have to aim. You can focus on, buff up time and other things of that nature. It is a very strong playstyle, but a very weak, numerically tuned set of gems. Again, this is talking most about the support, because Shockwave Totem in particular is a little bit of a different animal due to the fact that it does not suffer the ridiculous penalty of Spell Totem support. It just has some other things you have to deal with, such as the fact that it's a Nova skill. Now, I mentioned that this is fair, because this is well designed. You trade out a lot of the potential damage that you could be scaling in exchange for incredible quality of life, right? You're forced into a specific ascendancy, you're forced into a specific type of build path in order to get this like definitely sustainable and reasonable amount of damage that will definitely do all content. In exchange, it's not ridiculous though, but you get to dodge, you get to maintain your buffs. It feels a lot better comfort wise. It aims for you. It takes aggro for you, which is a plus and a minus, by the way. Your totems being able to die is the other major difference from mines. And you might be thinking, mines can die. Yeah, but like unless you're playing Blast Chain Mine in the year 2024, you don't experience mine death. But you do experience totem death a lot, especially in tier 17 maps. Like totems just take an unbelievable amount of damage from most enemy damage sources that are above like progression content. And so totem death is a really real thing that you have to consider. You have to invest in keeping them alive a little bit to make sure that they don't just like topple over and die. Or be like me, playing Sanctum, where the survivability doesn't matter because you can just crank their damage to the moon. That's another option, right? And so all of this to say, spell totems are not worthless. They are not bad. They are simply underappreciated because, well, shit, they are lacking a leg to stand on, quite frankly. They're too fair in a game that is unfair. PoE as a game is designed to crush our spirit at every turn. Not saying that to say I hate the game or anything, but it just is the way it is, right? The game is brutal. I mean, like we literally experienced that at the Mud Flats. We experience it at Brutus. We experience it at Mervale. And at every step of the way through the game, it is meant to, nut check you a little bit. And so in a game that's meant to nut check you in a number of different ways at every point in time in the game, why would we play something that is numerically reasonable and decent play style when you can play things that are numerically unreasonable and have good play styles, right? We've covered bows already. We've covered mines already. I haven't covered minions yet, but minions also very heavily violate this rule of good play style and normal damage. No. Minion damage is ridiculous, right? Like, we're talking about archetypes as a whole that just do really well while still being well advantaged against the bullshit that this game provides us. And so this is the biggest problem with totems. And it wasn't always this way. Once upon a time, totems did just kind of like crank out damage. Things like, again, through some more dependent methods, such as the use of Soul Mantle before. You'll notice I didn't actually cover Soul Mantle at all so far, and it's because it only really makes sense to talk about it in terms of things that we used to have historically as totem builds, because Soul Mantle used to provide +1 totem on it, which was really, really good for the builds, right? That's now your 5th totem, or your 7th totem if you're running multi-totem support. Hierophant also used to give us the double summon in the ascendancy. So you could actually go without multiple totem support, and you could run a real support in that slot, which got really valuable when you were playing at 5 totems, and then otherwise multiple totem is just a terrible support, right? So there is value that we once had in the game for totems that GDG just kind of realized might have been overstepping a little bit in terms of what totems should actually have access to. And I mean, that's reasonable. Again, I think it's very well designed. It's just, well, shit, this game isn't very fair. Why are we being fair? Why are we forced to be fair when the enemies kill us in 1 to 3 shots from literally off screen sometimes? Or, you know, on death effects still literally take 85% of our HP on average, even if you were to try to moderately defend against it. There's all these other problems, and yet totems caught a lot of the brunt of the this playstyle isn't fair. The same thing that Cold Dot caught, the same thing that Chaos Dot has caught. And you're going to notice a theme across archetypes that we talk about that are not so overperforming. It's because at one point they were overperforming and got deemed unbelievably ridiculous and should be brought down a notch or 3. And some archetypes just never got that treatment. Totems, unfortunately, is one of those archetypes. Now, that all said, I do recommend you guys try out totems at some time. They do feel good to play. The playstyle is just extremely comfortable, and they're very good in especially boss-oriented content, but definitely even just in mapping. There's a variety of totems. I recommend checking out Tidy's build sheet for the all the different versions of totems that he's tried, and I'll tell you that my personal favorites are Shockwave and Spark. Spark if I wanted to map, and Shockwave if I wanted to do stuff like Sanctum. Another notable mention for actual bossing, but not particularly Sanctum, is actually Stormburst. Do not sleep on Stormburst totems, guys. Stormburst is a skill that's just over really ridiculous, but that's a whole other topic in and of itself. Totems are fine, they just wish they did a little bit more. Anyways, that's gonna wrap it up for me, right? Side note, somebody should give me a name in the title, the name of the series in the comments, because I've realized we've done a lot of these videos, right? If you haven't seen many of them yet, you should just kind of go back through the channel and see how many of these build archetype videos I've done, and notice that, yeah, I've been talking about this for a little bit, and I don't have a name for this series, or a bounding term to refer to this type of work so that I can refer to this easily. So, give me some suggestions in the description, or the description in the comments, right? In the description, I'll have some links to some of the other videos and whatnot, as well as, again, if you like the video, like it, let me know that you liked it so I can make more of it. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of what I do here. I do have a Twitch and a Discord. Those are both going to be in the description down below. Twitch is mostly for event stuff, but the Discord I'm a lot more active in. I'm actually very active in there if you want to connect with me at all. And otherwise, I thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.